And so the Texans, not content to go only quarterback that high, to the extent that there was any internal consternation about quarterback, edge rusher, quarterback, edge rusher. Oh, we need a Nick Bosa. We don't need a quarterback. We can get the quarterback later. Well, they did get the edge rusher later, one pick later.
It's amazing.
They work out the back-to-back move by using the number 12 pick that they got as part of the Deshaun Watson trade from the Cleveland Browns, springing all the way back up to number 3 with the Arizona Cardinals, and they take Alabama edge rusher Will Anderson Jr. That, I know, was a surprise for some. Tyree Wilson was rated a little higher. There was some stuff about his foot floating around yesterday.
Right.
I was told yesterday afternoon his window was 2 to 7, and he nailed the back end of the window. But Anderson ends up being the third guy taken. Back-to-back, Stroud, Anderson. Foundational pieces. Guys who are coming in, same draft class, one on offense, one on defense. This may be the thing that finally helps turn the Texans around.
No, yeah, you're exactly right. I'm not, again, Will Anderson at number 3 is high for me. You know that. That's my thought. I know I'm a little different than the draft community that way, but I'm not mad at them for going to get the guy they want to get. You mentioned it. I think Tyree Wilson, I think there was a few teams he was off their board because of his foot injury. People worried, a guy that's got to go around the edge and got people pushing on him all the time, that concerns some teams. But either way, the Will Anderson thing is great for them. As we talked about leading up to the draft, he's an extremely high floor guy. There's no bust factor. You're going to get a really good football player that hopefully can be better than guy, Chris Simms sitting here talking head on TV says he's going to be. But then also I think what you get too when you're a Houston Texans team and you're trying to change around the culture and the mantra and your locker room and all that, that's where everybody talks about Will Anderson. So I think that's like, hey, one, he fits the need of we need some pass rushers and a guy on the edge for our defense. But two, we got to get some leaders and some young men and juice in our locker room that people can rally behind. And when you talk about Will Anderson, again, this is what I like, but it also scares me. That's where everybody talks about him first. They never talk about what he does on the field. They always talk about the human. That's always a little bit of like, ooh, well, that scares me if we're talking about what he does as a human before we talk about what he does on the field. But I understand that. And I get why you go that route, and there's no injury concern, and there is a need there. And I think it fits a lot of things about as far as what the Texans are all about as a football team.
Yeah, there's a point where it becomes a Cleveland Farrell pick. Remember, fourth overall to the Raiders because he's a great leader.
Right.
He's a great leader. He's a great leader.
Right.
Well, you need a great player, too. And,
it scares me.
And we'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
That's right.
D'Amico Ryans, who has a lot more power with that team than folks realize.
Yes,
That's something
sir.
that began to gurgle yesterday. As we're going to prepare to watch and wait and see what happens with the Texans after this draft ends, there's a chance that Ryans is higher on the pecking order right now than Nick Caserio, frankly, in Houston. So Ryans had to have seen something that he really likes in the player along with the leader. But they need both in Houston. They need all the good stuff they can get.
They do.
And we'll see what Will Anderson can do. By the way, can we re-rack the Will Anderson bear hug with the commissioner? One of these guys is going to fracture the orbital bone of the commissioner with that hug. And I wonder.
Wait till you see what Tyree Wilson did to him.
And he's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I know.
But at what point does the commissioner utter the classic line from Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon, I'm getting too old for this bleep. Because there's a point where you can't have it. Look at that, right up against the cheek. I mean, he's gonna need a little extra makeup there to cover the bruise. So anyway.
Well, you gotta see
young, big, strong guys.
Yes, right. Tyree Wilson, when he gets picked at number 7, he comes out there and power cleans Roger Goodell. I mean, he lifts him above his head like Dirty Dancing style. So yeah, they're trying to get their, they're squeezing them a little tight, trying to maybe help. Hey, we love you. Don't find me so much if I do something wrong a few years from now. They're trying to love up to him as much as they can.
You get fined for the hug.
Yeah, right. Break
Tyree
the commissioner's
Wilson at
rib.
the time of his
Don't
life,
find
Roger
me.
Goodell sure
I'll
as hell
break your
didn't.
rib again. Yeah.
All right, so there's the Texans at number 2 and number 3. That was when things really got interesting. And we'll talk about the Cardinals coming up because they they picked up some extra assets to just slide around a little bit and end up getting maybe the guy they would have taken at number 3. So at a time when there's a lot of crap going on with the Cardinals in the NFL, and the Cardinals and the Eagles did a nice job of tucking a little bad news right into the moments just before the draft. There's some people around the league that are upset about that, with this tampering with Jonathan Gannon and all this other stuff. We don't have time to get to it today. It's a perfect PR management tool by the league and by the Cardinals and by the Eagles. And maybe next week we'll talk about it in further detail. There are a lot of people upset about it, the fact that the Eagles got a little something in the draft for it. When, last year the Saints didn't get anything.
Yeah.
The Saints didn't get anything when they tampered with Sean Payton in Miami. Right? That first-round pick that disappeared for the Dolphins this year, why didn't the Saints get that? The Saints were the ones who were the victims of tampering.
That's a
fair
point. That's a fair point. As a Giant fan, I was like, what the hell? I mean, how many picks are we going to give the Eagles in the top 66 picks here? Holy crap. I mean, we'll get to that, but they're busy continuing to build their all-star team there in Philadelphia.
And just to show, I don't want to be gratuitous here, but if you're going to tamper with somebody, tamper with Sean Payton, not Jonathan Gannon, for crying out loud. The guy's completely unproven. It's a roll of the dice. It's a job nobody really wanted. Maybe that's why they tampered with him. Are you sure you really want this job? I'm just making sure here before we go any further, because all these other guys don't want it. Are you sure you do want it? Maybe that was the extent of the phone call. But either way, they made a phone call when they shouldn't have made a phone call, and they got busted. And that all came out just before the draft last night. But the Cardinals redeemed themselves by how they worked the board.
Worked the board. And was that another cool, a weird thing about the night? Again, it was hard. It was a lot of action. But I feel like I'm not even up to date, and I lived this stuff like you, on what was traded to move up and move around. There was so much action going on. I felt like TV couldn't keep up to tell us who traded what to get up there. Like there's a few trades that happened last night where I go, it was never discussed. Nobody told us anything. Nobody even gave us a clue what they did to move up 3 spots or whatever. And it seemed like TV had a hard time keeping up with all the action. There's
too many plates spinning. The terms get perfunctorily mentioned but never analyzed.
Right.
And that's where I think, a golf clap for the Cardinals. And since we're talking about it, let's continue before we get to pick number 4. What the Cardinals did, they moved from 3 to 12, and they picked up a high second-round pick from the Cardinals. I think pick number 30, there it is there. They pick up
33.
33.
Right.
They pick up a first-rounder and a third-rounder next year. Now, they also set a fourth-rounder this year. But so they come out of it with pick 12, pick 33, 1 and a 3 next year.
That's unbelievable.
And they give up the third overall pick and a fourth-rounder. And then when they move up to number 6 with the Lions later to draft Paris Johnson Jr., the guy they likely would have taken at number 3 if they hadn't moved, all they give up is 12 and 34.
I was surprised by that.
So they keep 33.
Right.
They keep the first rounder. They keep the third rounder. That was a great move by a team that needs lottery tickets and great players. They got extra lottery tickets, and they got the player they would have taken at number 3 anyway. That was a good move for a team that has had a lot of stuff go on ever since they tried to get Kyler Murray to sign the contract with the homework clause, and he did, and then they took the homework clause out. It's been downhill ever since. That was a nice little uphill tick for the Cardinals last night.
Definitely. Brilliant by Monty Austin-Fort, their new GM, right? First-time GM, pulling some strings like that, making moves. And that was really one of the shocks of the night, that they moved up like that, the 6 spots, right? Is it 6 spots? Whatever many spots. It's early, and I only got 4 hours of sleep. But to do that and then to only give 12. Up pick 34, right? I was a little surprised that that's all it costs to make that type of a drastic move. I mean, we've seen similar moves before that where, it's usually entailed a first-round pick. I know that's close to a first-round pick, but I thought that was a little light for Detroit as far as what they got in that package.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.